Physical and art damage. Two different types of damage resisted by two different stats. You see it in other games all the time. Physical and special in Pokemon, physical and magic in Fire Emblem, physical and magic in Final Fantasy, physical and magic in many other RPGs, so you know, pretty original terms. That being said, in Arknights, how does physical and arts damage actually differ from each other besides what stat it's resisted by? For the most part, it's in how each damage type is calculated. Ignoring any additional modifiers like damage boosts, debuffs, and all that, physical damage is calculated as damage minus defense. So if you were dealing 500 physical damage and the enemy had 300 defense, they would be taking 200 points of damage there cause math. You are also guaranteed to do at least 5% of your attack as damage if the enemy's defense stat is too high. For example, if you were dealing 500 physical damage to an enemy with 500 defense, you would not be dealing 0 damage, but 25 instead. The arts damage side only works slightly differently. Once again, ignoring buffs and stuffs, hey, that rhymes. The arts resistance stat is how much percent of arts damage is mitigated. As an example, you are dealing 500 arts damage and the enemy had 20 arts resistance, they would be taking 20% less damage for a total of 400 arts damage taken. If the arts resistance was 50, that's 50% less damage, and yes, 100 res does mean 0 arts damage taken. Touching briefly on buffs and debuffs, do be aware of what part of the damage calculation is being changed when using certain abilities. For example, Exia is attacking a heavily armored unit and activated skill 2 for more damage. This damage modifier applies after damage calculations, so that minimal damage being dealt is only a slightly higher minimal number. An attack buff, on the other hand, would increase the initial damage number before defense calculations are applied, like Blue Poison's second skill, so just watch out for that sort of stuff. It does make a difference in many scenarios. And that's basically physical and arts damage. It's actually not horribly complicated, but it's helpful to know in roughly gauging how much damage your operator will likely deal against particular enemies.